John, what a story about our guest and having had a stroke at the age of 27 and recognizing she could either be bitter or get better. And out of that, get better she did. And we heard from her about her three pillars: mindset, systems, and sales strategy.
Yeah, today we're sitting down with Dena Patton. She's a success coach, a speaker. She works one-on-one with her clients about how they can unleash greatness in their life. Her website is amazinggreatness.com, and she also wrote a book called The Greatness Game. So today in this conversation, we talk about those three pillars in depth and how entrepreneurs really need to polish some areas of their mindset, their sales, and their systems.
She's got a great take on what a smallness mindset is versus what a greatness mindset is and how you know when you're operating from which one. Here's Dena.
This episode is being brought to you by IOI Ventures. We all know that digital marketing is vital to our company's growth. Unfortunately, many of us entrepreneurs don't know where to start. We simply feel overwhelmed by acronyms like CTA, CRM, and GA. It's time for all of us to stop feeling stuck because our partners at IOI Ventures have the experience and track record to get us moving in the right direction. Want to learn more? Go to ioiventures.com/EU and sign up for your free 30-minute consultation. Dena, welcome to the Entrepreneurs United podcast.
Thank you for having me.
I see right behind you, for those who don't see on video, I'm going to articulate it, #GreatnessGame. Let's just start right there. Tell us a little bit about who you are and what you do and why Greatness Game is right behind your head.
Yeah, absolutely. So I've been an entrepreneur for 27 years. My first business was in New York City, a marketing and PR agency, and I sold that when the internet was created. I
Mhm.
always love saying how old we are before the internet. And then started this coaching and training business in 22 years ago. And I coach entrepreneurs all over the world and wrote a book called The Greatness Game. And it's all about our greatness mindset. And that was about 5 years ago. So everything that my training I call greatness training, everything that I'm about is greatness and helping people really access, live, and lead from their greatness. So that's my whole brand and my book and my hashtags are all around greatness.
Why did you pick to coach entrepreneurs and why greatness versus excellence or superiority or do great
Right.
or yeah, why entrepreneurs and why greatness?
So when I sold my business so many years ago, first of all, I think most entrepreneurs can say they have that entrepreneur spirit even when they were really young. I was an entrepreneur at 6 and 10 and 13, like that spirit. So I very much had it in me my whole life. And then at 22, became an entrepreneur with my first business in New York City. And what I learned in that business, doing PR and marketing for a lot of entrepreneurs, it's its own world. We speak our own language. And like anything, whatever your hobby is, it might be NASCAR, or it might be a dogs or whatever it is, you get immersed in that world. And then all those like-minded people speak the same language and they know what you're about. So for me, when I sold that first business, one, I was already ready to sell that business, but I was a little forced to because I had a stroke at 27. And it was an eye-opening, hard, challenging moment that I think those kind of situations make you bitter or better. And I was like, I'm overcoming this. I'm learning how to speak again. I'm selling my business and I'm going to hit the reset button and I'm going to learn from this and become better. And I just think through my own journey of entrepreneurship and serving so many entrepreneurs, they're my people. I am that. They're my people. We're like minded. I don't speak corporate. I've never been in corporate. That is a whole animal in itself. But a lot of people come to me after they've had a corporate career and now they want their own business. They want to be an entrepreneur. I coach them. We all find our niches and I just love entrepreneurs. I love the hustle. I love the creativity. I love that you can reinvent yourself, whether that is selling a business or expanding your business. It's never ending and it's a fun space to be in. Entrepreneurs are the best. They're just the best. So I don't want to coach anything else except entrepreneurs.
It sounds like at 27 you had that really pivotal time. How
Yeah.
did that change you?
Like I said, you become bitter or better. And what I learned in that is I think we can become victims of situations. And that might be have a partner that embezzled from you, or you got a divorce, or your business went under. There's a ton of life happening to entrepreneurs, and you can really become a victim of that situation. But here's the thing that's going to keep you out of being a victim is owning your part in it. And I could have sat there and said, "Why did this happen to me? This is so hard. Oh my God, I was just getting started and I was out of the struggle years and I won my first award and all these things were happening and I had my first 3 employees." And I could have sat there and just become a victim, but what I realized is I had a huge part in it. And the stress management, I worked 17 hours a day. And why I worked 17 hours a day is I drank the entrepreneur Kool Aid called you have to say yes to every sale. It will put you in the grave. And I preach this to all my clients. You cannot say yes to everybody that wants to hire you. You have to have discernment. And I have a whole process around that. The second thing is I had no self care. I now call it CEO self-care plan. You have to have a self-care plan. Your self-care plan is just as important as your business plan, your marketing plan, because this is what I know about entrepreneurs. As you scale your business and you go from 3 employees to 7 to 15 to 30 to 300, whatever level you're at, it's hard. This journey of entrepreneurship and holding a company, scaling a company is hard. You are the fuel. So you're only as good as your mind, body, and spirit. So, what I learned in that time is I was not taking care of myself. I was eating fast food, I was eating fried food, lots of happy hours with clients. I was not sleeping. I just was not taking care of my spirit, my mind, my body. And the stress management of running that hard and that hustle will get to you. So that was my lesson. And how I've incorporated that is every single one of my CEOs around the world, now every single one of them has to have a CEO self-care plan because I don't want anybody to get a divorce or get a disease or die while building their business. So it's really important to take care of yourself in this journey. And that was to me the biggest lesson that I learned that then I passed on to the people I work with.
Yeah, thanks for being an inspiring example of finding the lesson and not being the victim and just getting back up and getting at it and turning wine out of the grapes, if you will.
Yes.
You said the CEO self care plan. You mentioned that a couple of times. Are there sections to that, or what are the aspects of that that entrepreneurs should make sure they have as part of their self care plan?
So thank you for asking that because a lot of people just will skip over that because I think it's, like I said, a really important part because
Yeah.
we are the fuel. We're the fuel. I know, if I walk into a meeting, a staff meeting, a client meeting, and I haven't had sleep and I'm not taking care of myself, or my spirit's broken, or I've been eating poorly, I am a low version of myself. And I'm committed to always being the best version of myself. To show up in your business like you mean it, lead like you mean it from your greatness, which is your highest version of yourself, not your lowest version of your small self, which is your smallness. You have to put fuel in the tank. And that means mind, body, spirit, self-care. So I I have 3 by 3. So 3 is mind, body, spirit, the 3 categories. And then you break it up into 3 daily, weekly, monthly. And that is actually it that template is free on my website, amazinggreatness.com. Just download it and you can fill in your own plan. But it's important for you to know what fuels me in my mind, what fuels me in my spirit, what fuels me in my body, what makes me feel my most innovative, creative, fueled, powerhouse, greatness leader. What is your formula for that? Because my formula is not your formula. And that's the important part is you can't take someone else's self-care plan and they do this, so I do that. No, you have to figure out what is the thing that's going to fuel you the most. For me, nature. We go camping a lot. We go out in lakes here in Arizona. We have beautiful lakes and nature and Flagstaff and skiing. Like nature does it for me. Live music does it for me. Comedy does it for me. Those are three things, right? But I also have the relaxing things. I get a massage twice a month. I work out 3 times a week. I know that 8 hours a night, I have to get in sleep. So I know the things that refuel me, regenerate me, so I can show up the best when I'm speaking on stages, when I'm with my clients. I do not want my clients to sit there and go, oh, we got like 30% Dina instead of 100% Dina. I don't, I, my clients are really special to me. I'm there to help them build their best business. And I can't show up a 30% version of me. And I encourage everybody that's listening, take an assessment, take that awareness and go, what's my percentage? How am I showing up every day? Is it 30%? Is it 50%? Is it 80%? Is it 100%? So that's the importance.
Yeah, the simplicity of that 3 by 3 mind, body, spirit as the rows, if you will, and then the columns of daily, weekly, monthly, that seems
Yeah.
very simple. And then looking at what fuels me, I just have a question on that. On it seems so simple.
Hmm.
What are the most common mistakes somebody makes when they fill it out the first time where you find a CEO gives you what their 3 by 3 is,
Yep.
and you either say that's not good enough or you need to dig deeper. Like how does somebody do it wrong most often so
Yeah.
that our listeners might go, "Oh, okay, I got an extra note out of that. I want to make sure I do it well on my
Yeah.
first cut."
Yeah. So I would say that most people get when they fill out, whether you use my template or your own, like they fill out, once they think about it, most people can really identify those things. Like these are the things daily. I need to, maybe hydration's a really big thing for you. You've got to get your water in, right? Or workouts in, whatever your things are. So they're pretty good at identifying those. Here's the catch. Here's where a lot of people go wrong. That template, those writing down is only the first step. The second step is scheduling it. Success is scheduled, right? Entrepreneurs, if you have to do something in your business, I know you're going to agree with me, it's got to be scheduled, right? If it's a meeting or maybe you're prepping for a big client meeting, you got to put that prep time in your calendar or it doesn't happen. I'm a big believer of successes scheduled. So once you fill out the template in your CEO self care, the second step is now how do we make sure that we're in integrity and accountable to every one of these? And that's where my self care has its own color on my calendar. So my team, when they're looking at that, it when I have my self-care on the schedule, there's no scheduling over it, right? So that's just it's holding a boundary for yourself. And I think it's really easy as an entrepreneur. We can say, "Oh, I'm going to work out at these 3 times." And then a client wants that time and you go, "Okay, I'm going to give it to my client." We give our power away all the time in self-care. We put ourselves aside and we say, "Oh, I'll meet with them." Now, if you move it, that's okay. You move it to 4 o'clock and you give that client that 3 o'clock spot, right? But I think what the hardest part people struggle with is getting committed and keeping to this and really understanding the power that this gives you. Like I'm telling you, you're going to go from like 60% version of yourself to 100% because you're intentional in fueling you and the ideas, the innovation, the creativity, the leadership that comes out of it, I'm telling you, you're going to see dollars from it. Now, we don't do it because it's revenue generating activity. We do it because we have to be fueled and lead from greatness. But I'm telling you, the cherry on top, there's the results are you make a lot more money.
Certainly, Dina, I'm going to be adding 2 massages a week to my self-care plan. That's the
I
learning I'm
love it.
taking so far because I that sounds good to me. You talk a lot about mindset and how confidence and mindset can really propel your business. I'm sure that what we just talked about, the CEO self-care plan, is a big part of mindset. I'm assuming there's more than the self-care that's a part of the mindset. Is that fair, or is that a big
Yes.
portion of the mindset part?
Yes. So I always say we're only as successful as our mindset, right? Because
Mhm.
we don't outdo our mindset, we don't outsell our mindset. So even before you start your self care template, really just to click into the mindset that CEO self care is important,
Yep.
crucial, and that you're going to be accountable to it. So clicking into that mindset and then doing that exercise from there. But I talk about the difference between a smallness mindset and a greatness mindset. And the biggest distinction between the two is a smallness mindset is like a house of comfort, and a greatness mindset is a house of courage. And a lot of entrepreneurs live in a smallness mindset. There's comfort in they take their business only as far as they are comfortable. There's lots of very scary things about being an entrepreneur. Scaling bigger systems, hiring people, maybe getting investors. The first time you invest in bigger software, like the first time you get your own office, like all of these steps are major. They confront your courage, right? And you either have the courage to move forward or you go back into your comfort. And a lot of people, and this is what I'm so passionate about, they go back into the comfort and say, "Oh, maybe next year I'll get that
Yeah.
place. Oh, maybe next year I'll hire or do all my systems. Not right now." It's because we're addicted to comfort.
Yep.
We're addicted to comfort, and comfort is the thing that's going to keep your business exactly where it is today. And 2 years from now, it's going to be in the same exact spot if you stay in comfort. The key is to know that we were born with both a smallness voice, a smallness mindset, and a greatness mindset. All of us. It's not like some of us have greatness, but you don't. No, you were born with greatness. But the bad news is none of us were raised or taught how to access our greatness and how to really empower ourselves to listen to the greatness when the smallness is, no, that's too scary. Come back here in comfort. And we
Yep.
go back into comfort because we're addicted. It's scary to take big moves in our business. So my I love being the interruption and saying it's time to lead your business from greatness. And smallness is addicted to comfort, it avoids high risk, it runs from vulnerability. One of the big pieces of building a great business is being out in your marketing, right? Like showing up in much bigger ways in your brand, in your marketing, in your PR. That takes vulnerability and that takes courage and greatness. A lot
Mhm.
of people are like, I don't like to be on stage or I don't like to be in stories. I don't like to be on social media. That's all just you're listening to your smallness and comfort. And you can stay there. It's not that it's a bad thing. It's just that there's major limits to that game, right? You're winning, you're just winning the smallness game.
Mhm.
So, smallness also fears rejection. A lot of us don't like to be out in our marketing, whether that's on podcasts or stages or on social media, because it's vulnerable and we get judged and we can get rejected. And that is to some people's mindset, that's a no-go. No, because their smallness is scared of that risk. But here's what I want you, if that's you, if you're listening to this, what you haven't considered is your greatness is totally up to that game and saying, listen, we can do this. And we're going to learn. I've been speaking for 10 years and I'm still learning every time I speak. I learn something new, right? You're not going to know everything right away. So you've got to give yourself grace in this journey of being vulnerable and being in like playing a bigger branding game and marketing game because that is what attracts more people to you and attracts more clients is you living and leading and marketing from your greatness. Greatness is willing to be courageous, willing to take risks and do courageous things. It embraces vulnerability. It accepts rejection as part of the journey. Let me say it again. It accepts rejection as part of the journey. Playing big, of course there's rejection. Yeah, so move on to the next thing, right? Move on to the next client or the next thing that rejected you. It's part of this bigger game. So when you're playing a greatness game, it takes courage, it takes vulnerability, it takes willingness to have grace with yourself and to learn. And in greatness, we're scheduling our next big moves. Smallness procrastinates next big moves. So there's a big difference whether you're playing a comfort smallness game or you're playing a courageous greatness game. And you
Hmm.
got it in you already. You just have to say yes to it and take the steps to it.
Yeah, certainly the smallness greatness factor reminds me pretty closely of the fixed growth mindset a little bit.
Hmm.
And you are right. Like a lot of things that prevent people from going to that greatness is that imposter syndrome. Am I good enough? Is my company good enough? Am I going to be rejected? And it is
Yeah.
scary. It
Hmm.
certainly is a scary element. And that kind of further accentuates the need to have coaches that are unleashing your greatness, as you would call it, right?
Yeah.
Helping you unleash what
Yep.
that is. Because if you just
Yep.
listen to sometimes you just listen to what your mind is asking you, am I good enough? Am I this? Am I that? You're giving yourself the wrong questions that then lead you down the wrong path. And so I love that accept rejection as a part of the journey,
Yes.
embrace it and just realize it's an opportunity for you to grow. I'm sure the first time when you went on stage to speak to a company may not have been your best speech ever.
Right.
I'm currently writing a book right now, Dina, and I've been struggling with if I wait till this thing's perfect, it's never coming out. I gotta just go and let unleash it and learn from that process and grow. So I
Yes.
completely connect with all of that. And I think that kind of again brings back the fact that you need to have people that are assisting you and unleashing those. So when you
Mhm.
work with people directly, how do you do that? Do you do that in a one-on-one environment? Do you do it in team environments? How do you work with them?
I do one on one. So I've been a one on one coach for 22 years and I don't do any group coaching. And this is an important thing as an entrepreneur to learn what you're really good at and what you love. For
Hmm.
me, I don't love coaching groups. Now, I train groups and teams. I'm brought in for 2 or 3 hours or a half day workshop to train teams. That's different than group coaching for months and months. This is why I love working one on one with people because I get huge results 2 times, 5 times, 10 times their business. And they become the leader they were really born to be. And you can't, this is my opinion, you can't get those kind of results when you're in a group. When you're in 10, 20, 100 people in a group, yes, it's cheaper to usually do a group program, but the results are not even close to if you work with someone one on one. And like for me, I am so addicted to the huge transformation and the huge results.
Yeah.
And so I've always done one on one coaching and it just serves for me. It's kept me very busy for 22 years. So don't fix what's not broken.
Yep. And I know that mindset is only one of
Yes.
some core things you work with entrepreneurs about. So if we were to progress to the other components that you think can really help entrepreneurs and their businesses go to the next level, what would be some other components?
Yes. So I coach and speak on three pillars. One is mindset leadership. Second is systems. We all know the power of systems. Where there is chaos, there is no systems. And I think a lot of entrepreneurs have a lot of chaos in their business. It might be in your admin, it might be in your sales, it might be in your financials. There's a lot of messy parts of business, right? So creating systems, capturing them, writing them down. Because one of the things that I think a lot of entrepreneurs don't know, especially in the first few years, is we carry the systems in our head. Oh, this is how I pay my bills and invoice, or this is how I do all my marketing, or this is how I do my onboarding or my sales, whatever it is. It's all in your head. But then you get to a time where you have to hire someone. Well, you have nothing to train them in because everything's in your head. We got to pull those out and get them written down so that we want to plug people into systems, not the reverse. Because here's the thing, one employee is going to turn into three and then seven and 10. And when you start scaling a business, it happens very quickly. I had a client that went from one to 10 to 100 to 500 employees in a very, like in a year and a half.
Wow.
When you're scaling that fast, you don't want to stop and think about, oh, what are my systems? And let me write them down. And the train is moving so fast. You want to do that now, right? So there's no time like right now to write down your system. So a lot of people have troubles capturing them out of their head and writing them down. That's step one. And then the second part is to review that system and see where the holes are. I have a client in Kansas that had a hole in his sales system that once we plugged it, added $3 million more in his sales because there was just holes in his sales system that he couldn't see because it was too close. So systems are a really important part of small business. That's how you become a well-oiled machine and stop working so hard. Get systems, create systems. And then the third is sales strategy. That those are my three pillars: the mindset, leadership, the systems, and then sales strategy. And again, a lot of entrepreneurs, before you start really getting scale and revenue, even my bigger clients between 10 to 50 million, there's always holes in sales for some reason. There's always steps they're missing or they're avoiding, or they do sales well, but they do onboarding really poorly. I'm a stickler. If you are a service business, you have to have a really good onboarding system to onboard your clients in. They just bought your service and they said yes to you, gave you credit card, and then what? You just throw them in the fire? No, there's an onboarding system. And so those are my three pillars: the sales, the systems overall in the whole business, and then the mindset leadership. And of 22 years of coaching, in the beginning of my coaching, I coached a lot of other lanes, but I really realized these are the three: one, I love, and two, I am really good at. And we have to, as the business owner, we have to be able to have the courage and the greatness to cut the programs, cut the things that aren't working in your business, that you're like mediocre at. I can coach a lot more than those three. I've coached thousands and thousands of businesses around the world, but those are the three brilliant lanes that I'm really good at. And I just think that a lot of entrepreneurs come from that scarcity, comfort, smallness mindset where it's I have to be everything or I have to offer so many things. And it's just not the truth. Offer the things that you're really good at because you become known for those things and you can own that lane. And so that's just a lesson along. We know better, we do better, we know better, we do better. And you get really good at what you're really good at. Right.
What
Yep.
role does technology play in systems for you?
So a lot when we're capturing the standard operating procedures, the SOPs, we're pulling those out of your head or your team's head and we're writing those down. I use a called Trainual where we're putting all those SOPs into their manuals. And it's this beautiful technology that does that. A lot of people also just use Google Docs for that, where they capture it. That's fine too. But when then we go to implement systems, we want to automate the things we can automate, obviously. There's certain things that can't be automated that you and your team have to do, and those stay manual. But with every system, we have to look at, is there a technology or an automation to do this? And that's where we start to get scale because you're not paying a person to do that. You have an automated system. So it's a mixture. Once we get the systems clear in what the steps are, then we look at what's the automation or the technology that we can bring in to this. And again, the game is help it become a well-oiled machine.
What's the technology you often find yourself recommending to entrepreneurs?
It depends on the system. I have 19 clients in 5 time zones that are all in completely different sectors. So, a PR agency in London who needs her clients are all over the world. And so she's her problems are she has a team of 10 and then they're working with say 40 clients at a time in a whole bunch of time zones. And their communication, like they had onboarding issues, they had systems issues that we had to figure out certain systems for her team to communicate across time zones and across channels because she's in media, right? Pitching media. So there was like that's its own unique problem versus someone who has problem that needs a system there completely different. So I just come across everybody. I know a lot of systems that I can refer, but depending on what they need and what sector they're in. So there's 100, literally 100 different technology pieces, systems that I can refer different clients to.
Sales strategy we often find is filled with tips and tricks on how to sell. And you have a sales strategy versus
Mhm,
sales tactics or sales
mhm,
tips and tricks.
mhm.
What constitutes a sales strategy to you? How is that different than your sales approach, for example?
The strategy to me is the end to end. It's from what's our mindset of sales to who is our wine and champagne client and who are we going after and getting really clear in that. What are all the approaches that we are going at with sales? And this depends on what their marketing is because the people who have marketing bringing in leads, right? So I'm assuming we're past that, right? The leads are already coming in. You're now in the sales. And that's a distinction I just want to stop and make. Marketing is an attraction conversation and sales is a conversion conversation. They're not the same thing. And a lot of people collapse those and a lot of entrepreneurs collapse those. They just throw it all in a marketing bucket. Marketing, the job of marketing, your brochure, your blog, your social media, your speaking, your book, your is for people, your wine and champagne clients to look, to get their attention, to look. The sales strategy is then converting the look into an action. And that is buy my book here, or subscribe here, or become a member here, or get a consultation with me here. That's the first step of the sales strategy. And end to end, you've got to know the process you're leading. I use the word leading. To me, sales is one thing, it's leading. You are leading your potential clients from one step all the way through. Maybe you only have 4 steps, maybe you have 7, maybe you have 10. But most people don't know their steps. They're winging it. As soon as someone like looks, they capture them and try to close them. There's all kinds of weird, forceful, desperate things that people do. So I would say one, know that your marketing is an attraction conversation. Make them look and they're looking for a reason. And then you got to know the very, very first step of sales is what do you want them to do? That's the most important piece is let's say click this button and get a consultation with me, right? That's mine. That is the first step, non-negotiable, right? So you've got to know that because then all of your marketing can reflect that first step. But if you don't have that first step, if that first step is not clear, you're losing people. They have no idea how to buy from you. They don't know the next step. They're confused. Confused mind doesn't buy. They go away. It is really important that you know that step. So then they come in for their consultation with you or a Zoom meeting or a sales meeting, whatever that is. Do you know what that sales meeting, like, what do you want to accomplish in that consultation or sales meeting? You should not be winging it. A lot of people, again, are winging it. We don't do that. There's a strategy, right? And it's really important that when we are about serving and solving, every entrepreneur that is listening to this, if you have a business, your job is to serve your customers and to solve their problems. If you are not doing that with clarity, you're probably mixed up in some confusion, right? So let's get clarity in how you serve and solve. And when you have the mindset of, I'm here to serve and solve entrepreneurs in these three pillars, right? That's mine. What's yours? What you're here to serve and solve your customers in XYZ. Get clear on that. And then your consultation or your sales meeting reflects that. You got to ask questions when someone's in a consultation with me. I've got to get clear that they have problems in these three pillars. Because if they don't, I have to refer them out. I'm not working with anybody except in my three pillars, right? So my accountability in the consultation is to ask those questions. What are your pain points? What are your struggles, your challenges in these three? They say them, and then I can determine if that's a fit, if my packages are going to solve that, and I say, "Oh, I can solve that with option 1 or option 2." I then give them the offer, right? But I'm leading them through my sales strategy, my consultation, and at the end of that, I'm clear. Here's what's really important. I'm clear before I ever offer someone a solution that they need it. Let's get clear that they need it. Again, if someone sat here and said, I am looking for investors, they came into my consultation and they're talking about investors and that's the pain they're having. I'm not the coach for them. I can refer them. I have a whole referral network of coaches that specialize in things that I don't specialize. I'm going to say, you know what? I don't specialize in this. Let me refer you out. Right? Why? Because I asked the questions around their pain points and I got clear that they need me or don't need me. So when what I want you to understand is in your sales process, in your sales estimate or consultation or meetings, you're representing your brand, which is your values, your brand, what you stand for, who you are, right? That authenticity. Yes, that's a big part of it. And then the second thing is asking the questions to make sure you're the fit because you are not going to offer an offer unless you're a fit. Not a fit, no offer. If they're a fit, then you have permission to offer your solutions. So that's just, I'm really passionate in people understanding that whole process. I had a client that I've been working with for 2 years. They're a luxury home building company. And they have been running off of their reputation because they have a really good reputation for years and years. They didn't even have a person in marketing and they're a $50 million company, didn't even have anybody in marketing. That's just how good their reputation is. But competition started to really come in and they're like, oh, we should probably step up our marketing. And that's all their focus was on is just on the marketing. But I said, what's your sales strategy? And they're like, we just meet with them. It's no, no. So we created a sales strategy end to end, what it looked like, who did what are we asking in the meetings. They have 3 sales meetings with them. So we understood what is being presented in each one and how the close goes and then how the onboarding goes. And so it ended up being 8 steps and it got clear, clean, and everybody now knows what their job is in that because there's 3 people in there.
Yeah.
And they went from 60 million to 100 million. When you get real clear in your marketing and your sales, it just changes the whole game.
Yeah. I do think there's a lot of confusion with entrepreneurs between them feeling like marketing and sales has to be completely different. When in reality, it's a continuum, right? It's
Yes,
there's at
it's
every step,
yeah.
what are you trying to accomplish for the next step, for the next step, for the next step? And I do think you're right. I think there's a lot of businesses that are so confused with marketing and sales. They just do marketing and then they do what they think the sales part is, but there's really no matchmaking between one step to the next step to the next step on one continuum. And something that a lot of entrepreneurs, to your point, I've seen the same thing in businesses where they start selling, they experience success, they grow, and they figure they're doing it right. But I'd say I'm curious to hear what you have to say. But I'd say that 8 out of 10 companies that I see probably have holes in their marketing and sales strategy, or areas to significantly improve it, to significantly boost revenues or profits. Would you agree with that?
100%. In
Yeah.
22 years of working with, my clients have 5 to 75 employees. Like, that's who I work with, right?
Yeah.
So whether they're on the small end or the larger end, there has not been one client in 22 years that had a marketing, sales, onboarding system that I didn't have to improve. There's always one or two really big gaps in that, or
Yeah.
holes. So, no, it is absolutely, in fact, I always say it's the first thing we have to work on, because
Yeah.
it's the revenue. You want the revenue the revenue goals that you have your mindset on. Like, it's a lot easier to hit those revenues when the marketing, sales, and onboarding process is
Yeah.
clean and tight and working like a well-oiled machine. But when there's a whole bunch of holes in it, you're working a lot harder than you need to be. So 100%, I see it
Yeah.
all the time.
It'd be hard pressed to have anybody listening to this, or anybody that ever reaches out to you, where you can't get them 2 to 3 big wins like almost immediately by looking at these 3 pillars that you're talking about. How do people reach out to you? You mentioned your website earlier, amazinggreatness.com, I
Yes.
think. Okay.
Yep.
And then obviously your book, Greatness Game, as well, is
Yep.
available for people to go get. And the Greatness Game talks about those 3 pillars as well in more depth.
It actually it's just a mindset.
So that's just the mindset
And
pillar.
yeah, mindset and leadership pillar just in the book. But amazinggreatness.com, you can get a consultation there, book there, my free downloads, and all my information just in one place.
Okay, it sounds you have 2 more books coming in your future, the
I
sales
know.
strategy and the systems one as well. But thanks for joining us today, and look forward to looking more into Greatness Game.
Thank you
Dena.
so much for having me.
Please stick around for a few more minutes while Rich and I break down this episode.
John, I like the idea of operating from a house of comfort or a house of courage. And I got to say, that's one of the things that resonated most with me of the things that she said in the smallness versus greatness mindset. And I'll tell you why. Because I feel like prior to me getting kicked off the roller coaster ride back in August of 2022, that then got me into making a commitment to do a triathlon, which I then completed this year. Prior to that, I feel like I fashioned my life around being very comfortable as I could be. And what I came to find out is a comfortable life doesn't necessarily make for a joyful life. I was really good at finding ways, from everything from the desk that you have to the temperature of your shower to what you eat and when you eat it, and frankly, a lack of exercise. And I have found a new norm that has more to do with courage than comfort. And I got to tell you, it's created more joy for me than I would have
Yeah.
guessed.
Yeah, I think you said this once. I don't know where you heard it from, but it's something along the lines of self-care is not selfish.
Selfish. Yeah. Yeah.
And I think a lot of times entrepreneurs feel they got to be there for employees, they got to be there for their family, they got to get this sale done. And they drive themselves so rabid that they do eat, as she mentioned, the fried food or the fast food, and they're not working out because they don't have time to work out. I don't have time for this. And when you put self-care first, and it doesn't matter whether you're a CEO or executive or leader in a business or just an employee in a business, it doesn't make a difference. When you put your self-care first, and you can be your best every single day. Michael also talks about that a little bit as well. You on your best day. Who are
Yes.
you? What do you look like? What do you sound like? Who are you on that best day? If you can be that every single day and bring it, you also gain more confidence. And as you gain more confidence, you now are ready to go to that courage level, versus if you lack the confidence, you're going to go more to that comfort level. So really unleashing that confidence, like she talks about, really starts, I believe, truly at self-care and taking care of yourself and your mindset, your spirit, mind, and body, as she talked about.
John, I got to check in with you on this because I was almost going to ask you this while she was on, but I didn't want to overtake her story with yours.
Yep.
When she's talking about the greatness mindset and having courage and putting yourself out there and taking risks, and it's okay to be rejected, Just recently, you had a video come out that I saw for the first time where it's a promo video of your book and you're walking out of a coffee shop and you're like, you've never done that stuff before. I imagine, and I'd love you to speak to your experience, but I was imagining you and the courage that it's taking you to put yourself out there the way you are to promote your book, but from videos to gathering groups of people who will promote it with you and for you. And I feel like you are an amazing example of a greatness mindset and exercising a lot of courage, particularly recently.
Yeah,
Can
no, I
you
appreciate.
speak to what is that to you? Do you feel like you're exercising courage? Because knowing you, it looks like it to me. What is that experience for you?
So first, I do feel like I'm challenging and pushing myself to that growth, greatness kind of mindset. I do feel that. However, I will share that imposter syndrome comes in. Is this video good enough? Should I even be doing this? Are people going to really listen? Do they care about what I'm saying? That those messages keep coming over and over again. And Rich, I truly believe, I don't care if you're a professional athlete, it's made it to the top level of your profession or academic profession. This is part of human nature. You do have this security, protectionism, comfort mindset that you always have to battle yourself out of. And that's either going to take yourself being your best always and preparing yourself mentally and unleashing that confidence, as Dena talks about, within yourself, or you need others to help you with that, which is where the power of coaches come in and mindset coaches, performance coaches come in. Because listen, you could be a quarterback on Sunday in the NFL and throw 2 interceptions next weekend and wonder, are you any good? And
How
that
many
mindset can
coaches
destroy
have
you.
you engaged in the process? I know you had one who we had on, I think it was Kellen, who you worked with for writing the book. Like,
Mm.
how many coaches have you engaged over the process of both writing and promoting this book that you have professionals providing you guidance?
I'd say in the paid professional category, 4. In the unpaid, can you help me out and provide some guidance and review some things and help me out? Probably another 4 or 5, whether you call them professional or just experienced in these areas. So quite a few. I
S-
didn't know what I was doing.
Yeah, I think that's you being a good example of what you were just talking about. Sometimes, I don't know, maybe this is me playing in a smallness mindset, but sometimes when you and I make statements about, yeah, it's important to get coaching and this and that, no, we generally live these things. I didn't know what your answer would be, but I knew you had Kellen and I'm assuming you had others. Like, you didn't record that video I saw yesterday alone. Somebody coached you to do that. I've never seen you do stuff like that before. And it was awesome. And you were clearly coachable. So I imagined you've engaged a lot of professionals in what they're good at so they could teach you how you could perform well.
Yeah, Rich, look, it's no different than you going to do a triathlon. You didn't just go outside and figure I'm going to learn how to, swim, how would I need to swim for this. You got coaches, they're going to help you. And I think I still feel like it's a major weakness of entrepreneurs. And you called me out once, which is, I remember when I was running my business and I thought I had everything figured out and you're like, who's coaching? You're like, nobody, I don't need a coach right now.
That's right.
And I think entrepreneurs fall in that trap. And the evidence is there. I seen it, Dena's seen it, you've seen it. There is no entrepreneur running a small business today that has everything figured out, have their entire sales strategy figured out, all their processes and systems figured out, but yet they don't have time. They don't have time to work on it. They don't have time to do self-care. They don't have time that's the excuse. I don't have time to do that. Partly because they're saying yes to everything, as Dena said. They're just saying yes. They're trying to grow their business. Then they're working 17-hour days and then they're unhealthy and their business unravels a different way. So I guess it's really important for entrepreneurs to really think through who can help you on your mission and what you're trying to accomplish. Because there's a lot of great coaches out there, Dena.
It is interesting when you say, I don't have time for that.
Yeah.
The perspective is always the things that we don't take time for that are really important to us in the long term. Life has a way of forcing balance on us with them.
Yep.
So you think about the story that Dena just told us, and she's working 17 hours days, she's not exercising, she's not eating well. Life had a really unpleasant way of forcing upon her. You're going to take time to care for your health now. The jig is up.
Yep.
And what we find with entrepreneurs is the same thing when it comes to investing time with a marriage. investing time with children, investing time with our health, investing time with friends. Like all of these things with enough time that we don't spend in them, life will force unpleasant consequences on us where we will have to spend time with them if we want that area of our life to even stay alive.
Well said.